Hello there, music makers. This is a video that is specifically made for my music classes at Bayside Middle School. But if you are just curious how BandLab works, you're welcome to tune in as well. We will be going over the very beginning of how to use BandLab all the way up to a semi-basic level. So if you sit and you play around with BandLab for a handful of minutes, you'll discover a few tricks and tips pretty quickly, but you'll also discover a few areas where you don't know how to move forward. Here's a very quick song I made that hits all the points of the assignment that we're receiving. We've got a chorded instrument right here, another instrument that plays chords right here. I've got a drum set. I've got some live vocals down here, and then a bass sound down here. And one of the tricks we can use that a lot of beginners don't really catch is this rewind button. When the song is playing, you hit stop and you always should hit rewind. Sometimes it goes back on its own, sometimes it doesn't. Another trick is if you can't really hear what a track is doing, you hit the S button, which solos that track. And then all of a sudden, you can hear what that track is doing by itself. The stop and rewind button and click off of the solo. If you want to mute something, you want to hear what it sounds like without a channel, you hit the M button and it will mute those, and you won't hear them until you unmute them. A couple other tricks and tips are to hit the icon right here, right next to the name of the instrument. And right here it shows we've got a Studio Grand. Right here it shows we have an arcade lead, which is a solo sound. We've got a drum set, so you get a little drum sign right here, and you can actually type in your keyboard. Letter A is the kick drum, letter S is the snare drum, and so on and so forth, as you can see there. And then here we have some options for editing. And you can always change where your microphone's coming from. Now you can see I'm getting some signal, and I wasn't before. Over here I've got another vocal line, and something I added onto it was some effects right here. And so when we had this channel and I hit the effects down here, I hit add effect, and then I added a filter echo. So for this assignment, let's start with a fresh slate, because that's looking at a lot. We start by going to edu.bandlab.com, and then we enter our classroom, and you'll see this assignment in there. Write and record a song was our first assignment, and we can click create up here, or we can go to library and create our song in here. Do so by clicking on studio. And I'm going to start with instruments. This is where you're going to get all of your instruments. Don't be confused by guitar and bass down here. You need to plug in a guitar or plug in a bass to use those. You can start with instruments or drum machine. That's always a good place to start. I personally like to start with the piano because I play the piano, but for you, maybe it's the beat, or maybe it's a bass sound that you want to start with. Now, if I hit the X right here on the left-hand side, the piano goes away, and a lot of students get confused. And they're wondering, how do I get that piano back up here? Well, that's what we talked about before. You click on the icon of the instrument right there. And now you can type on your keyboard, or you can plug into a MIDI keyboard, and then over here you'll hit the triple dot, and right under MIDI device, you'll click on that. And you can see that I'm using Safari, and it doesn't support using MIDI devices, but Google Chrome does support using the MIDI devices. And if it doesn't work, try unplugging it and plugging it back in. Try hitting the save button and then closing Chrome and restarting Chrome. Those are going to be your best bets. You can actually change the octave this plays in. If I click down here, it sounds pretty low. But I can change the octave right here on the right-hand side. And I can record something, so I'm going to do that. Now, it's recording, but I can't hear the tempo. I can't hear what the beat is. So what I'm going to do is that stop rewind button, and I'm going to turn on the metronome right there. And now I can hear what the beat's going to sound like. Now, I like that. I want it to end right at the 4, so I'm going to just go to the edge and drag that to line up with where the fourth measure ends. The other way to do that is to take the playhead, which is this line here, shows you where the song is playing, and go over here, push S, and it trims it up. Now, I did not play perfectly on beat, so one of the things I can do is right-click on here and quantize. And that basically takes all the notes and it gets them in the correct beat. You'll hear now that it sounds a little better. Now I want to add a low note at the end, so I'm going to double click on this MIDI note area right here, and I'm going to just add a note by holding Control and then clicking on a low G to match this note right here. And it's really hard to see where that low G is going to be. So I can actually scroll this over to right there and then get a better picture. And then make that a longer note to match. And you can hear what that's going to sound like. Oops, I don't like what I did there. But I can fix it. And you'll hear what I added on. Added a little texture to it. Now I'm going to add one more instrument here. And I'm going to go to Virtual Instrument. And I'm going to click on where it says Studio Grant and actually change it to a drum kit. And I like the ballad because it sounds pretty straightforward. You can type in your keyboard, or you can click there, or you can even enter that in there. And there's a way to do that. And that's way on the bottom, MIDI editor. So you can type stuff in there. But it's good to try to do it live instead of just with the editing. But you can do it that way. And you can also do this in Drum Machine. Here, I'm going to go back to Instrument. I'm going to rewind it and record. I'm going to get my fingers used to where these beats are. These different drums. There we go. Now that might seem a little silly because I wasn't playing there, but I'm going to take this and copy it. Control C, take the playhead to where I want to copy it to. Oopsies, did not do that quickly. Click on this channel and then try pasting again. There we go. I'm going to quantize this by right clicking on it, quantizing it down to an eighth note to try to fix it up, and let's play. All right, I like that. It's time to add some more instruments. So I'm going to hit Virtual Instrument again, and I'm going to try to find some sort of a bass sound. Now if I click on guitars here, there are some things that can sound like a bass guitar in here, but there's not a specific one over here for bass guitar. So I'm going to use something in place of, I'm going to go to strings, or use a synth bass instead, and we'll just try some of these. There we go. We're going to record. Now I don't need the metronome anymore because there's enough rhythm in the song for me to hear what the beat is. Now I've got that. Now I'm going to add some live vocals. Add track, voice, record. And then you might have to tell your computer that it can listen to the music. And I'm going to use headphones here for the best result. Let's check that out and see if that works. That one doesn't really fit. But I'm just going to paste this in here. And I'm going to add a little bit of reverb to this by hitting the effects down here. So once again, clicking on the icon, clicking on effects, and then add effect. I'm going to get some filter echo in there and see what that sounds like. I'm also going to turn up the reverb down here in the bottom right just to give it a big spacious sound. If I solo it out, you can really hear how spacious it sounds. One of the other things that trips students up is occasionally they will accidentally turn on this loop bar or turn it off. And if you play it with the loop bar on, it will keep on repeating the first 4 measures, or you can drag it out to be more than 4. Let's just put it on 1 as an example. And it just keeps playing over and over. And sometimes you want that because you want to record something and you want 4 or 5 tries. But if you want to turn it off, there's two ways to do it. You just click on it, and it turns the red to gray red, to a grayed out red color. And that's the easiest way to do that. The second way is this loop button right up here. And that'll turn that on or off. And now I'm playing with this. This is only 8 measures. I'm on the 9th measure. And your song is going to have a B section, so something that sounds different than this, and then come back to the A section. So this is a good start. By Friday afternoon, most of you should have your A section done. Continue to work on this for the next chunk of time. When there are 3 minutes left in class, show your progress. Actually show your BandLab project to the teacher before you're allowed to line up. Keep working hard and make it sound good.